Hello my friends and welcome back, and welcome also all the new subscribers. My name is Jo, I'm an artist based here in the UK and I'm a bit of a nature nerd, and I love sharing my inspiration and art process and art tips and sketchbooking on this channel, hoping to build a small community of like-minded people. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everybody who subscribed, because I just realized that I recently reached just over 500 subscribers. You have no idea how happy that made me. It just made my day. So thank you so much. All your comments, all your likes are greatly appreciated. Anyway, today I want to share with you a very fun technique of drawing and painting mushrooms. But before we got to that, I just wanted to share with you what I've been doing recently. I have been working on an update to my first ever Skillshare class. It's all about drawing and painting botanical style mushrooms. I've included even more mushroom species, so my students now can create even more interesting garlands. So if you're interested, the link to my Skillshare class will be below this video. But if you're not on Skillshare, don't worry, we will still paint and draw today, and it's going to be slightly different technique. It's going to be watercolors and ink. So let's begin.
I decided to use my Winsor Newton Cotman watercolors for this project. I selected some lovely autumnal hues like yellow ochre, burnt sienna, burnt umber, vermilion red, ultramarine and Payne's grey. Before I started sketching, I did a little bit of research. I selected a few reference photos and I made a list of mushrooms I wanted to include. For this sketch, I decided to paint in my A4 Moleskine watercolor sketchbook. It gives me a little bit more room, and the paper is slightly thicker than in my art creation sketchbook. Using my reference photos, I planned a very rough composition. I started with the biggest and most complex mushrooms first. I then filled in the empty spaces with smaller and simple ones. I tried not to place two mushrooms that were too similar in shape or color next to each other. For the painting part, I chose a few solid synthetic brushes. I have here size 8, 5 and I think it's 4. I started painting with light watercolor washes. This first layer of washes is always my favorite part of painting. I just focus on getting those gentle washes down and letting the colors flow into each other naturally. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's really about building a base and enjoying how the paint moves on the paper. For some mushrooms, like this parasol, I use the wet in wet technique to let the darker details softly blend and create more natural textured look. For others, like this toadstool, I waited for the stem to dry completely before adding the bright red cap. This helps to keep the colors clean and avoid any unwanted bleeding. I deepened the colors in places where I wanted to create more contrast. This shaggy ink cap I also painted using wet in wet technique. I allowed details to blend in softly and create this lovely delicate texture. In contrast, for these oyster mushrooms, I waited for the base wash to dry completely before adding another layer of the same hue for the darker caps. Once I finished painting all the mushrooms, I let everything dry completely. I actually keep a hairdryer plugged in permanently next to my desk. Before I move on to the inking process, I just quickly wanted to show you these cute vintage pen nibs. I got them online and it's a quite fun little set. It was really good fun testing them out. To add details to my mushrooms, I used the Liquitex acrylic ink. So I selected a nib that I really liked. It has this slightly flatter tip and a very soft feel. I noticed I could achieve quite a range of line variation with it. I started adding outlines, making the most of that soft nib. You will notice that some of the lines are quite a lot thicker and others are very, very thin. I like it because it gives the sketches this organic and lively feel. I tried not to outline everything. I think it's nice to leave some of these soft watercolor edges here and there. I must admit, I really love this part of the process. It felt really relaxing and freeing. I really wasn't worrying about my pencil sketch underneath. I simply used the watercolor shapes as a loose guide. You may notice that I pressed harder with the nib to create a thicker line underneath the mushroom cups. I wanted to emphasize the shadows there. For the gills and the other fine details, I pressed very lightly, and I tried to wipe off any excess of ink on a paper towel beforehand. This morel mushroom has a beautiful, almost honeycomb surface, so I tried to suggest it with the pattern in ink. The parasol has a lovely, tall, delicate stem and the top is quite textured, so I use more broken lines to keep it light. The saffron milk cup has those distinct rings on the cup, so I try to suggest it with some broken lines. And here I'm moving on to the oyster mushrooms. I really enjoy drawing their gills. They have that elegant, fan-like structure that flows beautifully. The fairy ink cups are so tiny and clustered. I just hint at their forms. Finally, the black trumpets. They have such an interesting shape, quite dramatic with those flared tops and darker tones. I really love how these loose mushrooms turned out, and I hope you enjoyed watching this process and found it inspiring. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thank you again for helping this channel to grow. If you are interested in making this mushroom garland using your own artwork, check out the link to my Skillshare class below. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of this beautiful season and happy painting! See you next time!